I went to IUPUI, and just wasn't real sure. I didn't even know if I wanted to live on campus. And then I went to visit an old friend who was at Notre Dame, and she had me up there for the weekend. It was Notre Dame, Penn State, November of 1990. Huge game, and I stayed with her in the dorm for that weekend. And that's when it hit me, what I was missing out on, the whole campus experience and the dorms. And so I drove home that Sunday and said, I'm transferring. I don't know where, but I'm transferring. And then did a little more homework. And I mean, in the 8th grade, I announced in the 8th grade, which for me is like, it doesn't matter, it's a long time ago. And that I wanted to be, not just at ESPN, I wanted to host SportsCenter. So since the 8th grade, this was my goal and my dream, and I still sometimes can't believe that I'm actually doing what I set out to do so long ago. But so then it was, okay, let's find the exact right. I knew I wanted to be journalism, whatever, but then did some homework and saw that sports communications, broadcast emphasis, print emphasis, you make the choice. And I mean, I could not believe that's exactly what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided to transfer to IU, intercampus transfer. I had never even been to Bloomington. I certainly wasn't going to go to Purdue. But I came down here not even having seen the campus and fell in love immediately. And then I hid the fact from my parents that McNutt was a co-ed dorm. Every other floor. McNutt Crone, anyone? Gordner.
Delgado.
Is there still Bacobo?
Yeah.
Really? Next to Disco Briscoe?
Yeah.
So I had a fun year. I had a really fun year. And I think that was like my favorite year because it was the innocence of coming in and being a freshman and being away from your parents and class. And but it was just the beginning of, honestly, my dad says it a lot, today is the first day of the rest of your life. And it's maybe cheesy, but it's true. But that first day, when they drove away from the front of McNutt there, and I was waving, and they were crying, and I was crying, and I was scared to death, that was truly the beginning, because there's just no way I would be here today without everything that happened at IU. I met my husband at the library, guys. So, I mean, I married my first boyfriend. He lived in Reed. I lived in McNutt. We met at the library. It was really cheesy. And he was hitting on some little Tridelt girl. And I remind him, sorry. I mean, you're all hot, but really. I was just and so when I come back here, I think of all the memories. I have 3 kids now, and we brought our first kid back when she was like a year old that summer, and I made him go stand in the exact same spot where we met and take a picture, and he just, I'm sentimental like that. But the memories here are amazing, and I know for a fact that there's no way I would have been able to fulfill my dream since 8th grade, to be at ESPN, to specifically be on sports, and if it hadn't been for Indiana University, and if it hadn't been for the people here, and for the people, my major was new then. Was it like the first year maybe, or second year of Gwen Ham. Ah! It was fairly new. It was probably about 3 years. Was it 3? So it was in its infancy, and it was really, I mean, it was the program. I mean, it was kind of experimental, and it was really, and so, you know, there were some classes that I really struggled with, and one of them was that human anatomy and physiology course that I'm looking at dead bodies. And I'm like, how do I need to know? But I'm just going to be ESPN, you know. But it gets you there. And what this major has now, in particular, is ridiculous. And I'm just so excited for those of you who are in that major, similar majors, because what this school has to offer is amazing. And I'm on the East Coast, and you hear about Syracuse all the time, and it's great, it's legitimate, they deserve it, but there's more, and it's awesome that people are finding out now what IU has to offer. So if I could just go back 20 years. First job then, my internship, I had 4 internships here. One was at B97. It was top 40, right? Is it still?
Oh, yeah.
Is it still top 40?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, top with Ryan Seacrest.
Oh, Ryan Seacrest is on it now. Move him over. So that was, John Callahan was doing sports for B97. I don't know where he is, but he had let me come in, and I mean, I learned how to edit and splice, and he let me do some little, mainly I just went out and got sound for him, and I went to IU basketball and football games and got the sound and brought it back, and we would edit it and put it on the radio. And then one summer I was an intern at a school district in Kansas City, Missouri. When my parents left Indianapolis, Fort Bend, they had a station at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. not in the prison where Michael Vick was. It was, but so he was stationed at Fort Leavenworth, and I went back in the summer and did that. And that was a marketing PR internship, which was great to have that perspective too, to go into the broadcasting side and appreciate what they have to do to deal with us. And then there were 4 internships. What's that? No. No. I don't remember the 3rd intern. Oh, it was the this is embarrassing. IU athletic department, because I was trying to go in order, okay, in chronological order. That's why I forgot, okay. But I used to work at Colorado Steakhouse, and I made a ton of tips there. Like it was a great job. It was a great job for a college student, especially football weekends. And I mean, I think actually it's a job that every human being should work for at least a summer, to wait tables and realize how hard it is, and to make sure you tip your waiters. But it was a great job also because it taught me how to handle the public, how to handle people, how to handle mean people many times. But one person that used to come into lunch probably 3 or 4 days a week was Bill Armstrong. And he passed away in 1997, I think, 98, and we just struck up a conversation one day, and then every time he'd come in for lunch, we'd talk, and he'd ask me how I was and what I was doing to pursue my dream in broadcasting, and he had some strings he could pull. He was the head of the IU Foundation, and he ended up giving me a $1,000 grant, mini scholarship, to get me through my final year. He saw potential in me and knew I really worked hard, and got me an internship with Harold Morrow, he was an associate athletic director in the athletic department, and worked with him for maybe a full year, or at least the last semester, and that was priceless. And then Mr. Armstrong knew some people at the CBS affiliate in Indianapolis at Wish TV Channel 8, got my internship at Channel 8 upon graduation, and was in locker rooms immediately right out of college and scared to death, and that was a whole different experience the first time. And Indy 500 and going up to Purdue, and I mean all kinds of things that they threw me into because they needed the help, and I was free, I was cheap. And so from there, I also worked with a photographer who was with the reporters, but afterwards I would always come prepared to my internship every day and look like I was going to go, wannabe reporter, and dress the part, and then ask to do my own stand-up at the end of each story that they were covering, if we had 5 minutes. So while the reporter's busy doing interviews, I'm listening, and I'm also taking notes. I'm also writing a stand-up so that maybe I can practice if he has a minute at the end. And then this photographer was nice enough to help me out and offer me tips and say, this was really bad, and here's why. Let's try this again. And you have to be open to that criticism. You have to find someone who's willing to take that time, because he was in his 50s at the time, and he'd been doing it for 30 years, and they have a deadline. They need to get somewhere, and who's this intern? But I worked, 14-hour days and did everything they wanted, and so he realized I was serious. And he took that extra time with me and helped me edit a tape, put a tape together. Yes, it was all on Betamax tapes or whatever they were, and physically send them all to stations around the country that we were hoping were hiring. I mean, honestly, the internet was really just so old. It was really just blowing up. I mean, when I was at the library and I met my husband that night, I was in line to get on the computer to check my email. That I didn't even really, we'd get like 1 email, 2 a week, right? And it was just, you had to stand in line. Nobody had laptops. Are you kidding me? I had a word processor with a fancy little printer with special paper you had to buy. And so it's just so different. But anyway, there wasn't internet. You had to hear word of mouth about jobs that were opening, or newspapers. And so I sent out all these tapes, and I had no money. So I'm charging on my credit card to send these out via FedEx or UPS, because that's the only way they're going to get them. And then you pray that these news directors open them and don't let them sit on their desk for 6 weeks, So Mr. Armstrong picked up the phone and made a phone call to the GM of the station in South Bend, CBS WSBT. He knew the GM. He said, listen, I got a great kid who's working her butt off, and she's not getting any bites. Everybody says, what's the thing that you always hear when you're trying to find a job? We need someone with experience. Well, how do I get the experience? You don't give me a chance. It's that, And so Mr. Armstrong asked Jim Freeman to take a chance on me, and he did. So it's a lesson that I know you all have heard before, that you never know. You never know who you're going to meet at any given moment. So remember that. Present yourselves well. Be polite. Be friendly. Make eye contact. This was some old guy. Bill Armstrong was some old guy sitting by himself at lunch eating. I knew what he wanted every day. He wanted a steak, medium rare, baked potato with butter, sour cream, cheese, and bacon. Like, you just, but I took time to remember those things, and he noticed, and then he asked me about myself, and look, I mean, the rest is history. So it's my military upbringing, I think, that helped me and helped me be conversational enough to do that kind of job, number one, and number two, to take interest in other people. If I hadn't asked him some questions, what would have happened? I wouldn't have had the internship at the athletic department. I wouldn't have had the internship at Wish. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't have gotten the job in South Bend. I might not be at ESPN right now. I'm overwhelmed when I think about those little things that had to happen in order for me to get there. So you just never know. And your presentation is key. My little brother, he's finally come around, the model in New York. We make fun of it because it's like, model, who do you think you are? but I mean, he should be one. He fits the part. But, you know, for a long time, he fought that whole, when he was originally not and he was doing other things, you know, he wanted his cornrows, he wanted his hair, he wanted his whole pants, and, you know, I get it, but what's your goal? Because, like it or not, it's corporate America. It's ESPN, but it's still corporate America. At any local station or any newspaper or Yahoo Sports, it's corporate America, and it does matter how you present yourself and how you look. But the point is not, I mean, that's, you see the commercials, the NCAA commercials about how many student athletes and how many go on to professionals versus the rest of us. It's the reality. So I feel very strongly about that, as you can tell, that you have to present yourself properly. You make that definition of what that is, but just know going in that you will be judged. So as far as what job was that? What job did I leave off on? So South Bend. So internship after Wish, and he created this position for me to edit, to report, to write, shoot, camera, way too heavy for me. $40,000 cameras, almost dropped it, lasted one day. So they kicked me out of that, thank goodness. And I knew I didn't want to be an editor. But what did I do? I learned to edit. You guys probably do that here on campus now, but back then it's like you have to learn to do these things because there's a million other people like you who are willing to learn it. And if you just want to go be a pretty face on TV, guess what? They have other people who have more experience and are willing to do more. So I did all those things for a year, and then I got on TV by accident one day, first time, because someone called in sick and they wanted to go do a live shot at a Greek festival in South Bend, and that was my first time on TV, was a live shot at a Greek festival, tasting the souvlaki, and trying to be conversational about souvlaki at a Greek fest with a bunch of Greek people, and that was the first time. Who knew? I wanted to be a sportscaster, started a Greek festival. From there, I did school board reporting, you know, for school board meetings and car accidents, and you know when all those people are on the side of the road in a blizzard and they say, don't go on the roads, and you're standing on the road? That was me, you know.